your district, where when kids who are struggling are looked at and the focus is on kid issues, there's going to be a little bit of discomfort in now first looking at instruction, curriculum, and the environment, where it is the highest probability that the issues lie. So that this is going to be an issue as you move forward if you implement the system and it becomes your way of work. So I want to move quickly through a couple of things, and then we're going to get into some of the skill components of this. So this started out as RTI, and this is the definition of RTI that is most cited. I don't cite it because it happens to have my name on it, but it was the first publication that really addressed RTI. It was intended for school boards and superintendents, and before it was all over, there was about 150,000 copies of this that was purchased. My name is up there because there are 7 of us, and my name is the first of the alphabet, so don't read any importance into this. I'll tell you how dumb we all were out of our passion for this way of work. We did this for free. They thought that they'd sell 5,000 or 6,000 copies of it, recoup their cost, all of this type of stuff. And then when they sold 150,000 copies, we thought, even if we got just like $1, that would have been some nice chunk change. So that shows that educators, if I'm representative of it, really are not good investment kinds of people to make a dumb decision like that. But it basically had 3 elements: that you provide high quality instruction and intervention. It's focused on instruction, match the student needs. We use learning rate as opposed to discrepancy to make important educational decisions. And problem-solving process is the process that is used to develop effective instruction and interventions. So that was what it was back in 2005. But then we morphed over to MTSS because of some of the issues that have been discussed. And that is that the system has to be prepared to support this approach as well. And the RTI by itself didn't look at some of those system issues. So this really is a return on investment model. We're going to talk about that a little bit in terms of your allocation of resources. I'll give you an example. I worked in, and I'm familiar with the Buffalo city schools, some of the struggles that they have, and it's not unlike some of the struggles that some of our districts have with similar situation. But when we worked in Los Angeles, they had about 47% of their kids who were proficient out of 880,000. And by the way, we did 420 buildings in 2.5 years. So it can be done that fast. So 47% of the kids are proficient, yet 84% of all the personnel in the district were assigned to general education. It's typically an 80-20 kind of split. So we asked them, are you expecting 16 or 19% of your staff to fix 53% of your kids? So if you have schools with lower proficiency rates, unless there's staff assigned, you can't move kids up the triangle and not the staff with them. If you have 20% of your kids who are struggling and 20% of your staff assigned, great. But if you have 50% of your kids who are struggling and 20% of your staff assigned to fix the other 50%, that is not going to work. It is not possible because the resources are not aligned with the effort. So this triangle is also used to look at this return on investment type of thing. So that's one big issue. So this also should be led by general education. Everything should be led by general education. If I hit my druthers, and I hope there are no special ed people in here that get sideways with this, but that's okay. I was a district administrator once too. I believe that special ed should be under curriculum and instruction. I don't think it should be off by itself. And we'll talk about why by the end of the day, unless, for example, special ed instruction is aligned with the scope, sequence, and pacing chart of Tier 1, then what are we doing? unless IEPs are aligned with standards. Two reasons why kids with disabilities don't do well in high-stakes assessment. Number one, the instruction is not aligned with the standards, it's aligned with deficits on the tests. And number two, those kids with disabilities are not having all of that integrated into core instruction. And we'll talk more about that. So a lot of the reasons for the performance of our special ed kids, low performance on high-stakes tests, is not the kids. It's how we organize, deliver, and integrate our instruction, or don't. So that we'll talk about some of that today. We integrate now academic and behavior and universal design in an MTSS model. There should be state education involvement in this to provide support for this, and it should be policy driven. So we just finished 5 years of work with Wichita, Kansas schools, 100 schools, 50,000 kids. Myself, a guy named Randy Sprick, another person named Anita Archer. We were all in there for about 5 years because that was a very changing district. When we started working, 26% of their kids were English language learners. As of last year, 57% of the district is English language learners. So the demographics were changing. The instruction had to change. It wasn't keeping pace with it. But the last thing we did is we went through all 365 of their school board policies and modified them to support an MTSS model. Because in John's case, you can't have, and I've sat in his chair, you can't have a building principal doing stuff with, in this case, his team, that he knows is violating district policy. Not if he wants to keep his job. Now, if you don't like him, the rest of you should encourage him to do that.
Thanks a lot.
There you go. I'm just helping with strategies. I'm trying to help everybody. So the issue is that how many times have you sat in a meeting wanting to do something and you can't do it? We can't do that. That is a policy getting in the way of a pedagogy. So the students don't get it because the policy hasn't been modified. And we're not here to talk about that, but those are, in an MTSS system, you want to look at all of that stuff. So the definition is, it's an evidence-based model of schooling, integrating academic and behavioral instruction, delivered at varying intensities, and that resources are allocated to buildings on the basis of student need. Now, I'm going to say straight out, the tiers don't exist. It's a model. It's just how you intensify instruction. And today we're going to talk about intensifying in 3 ways: increasing time, narrowing focus, and modifying the type. And we do that increasingly until students are successful. The tiers don't exist. I gave you the example of East Little Havana, 180 minutes of reading a day. Coral Gables, 72. So what's tier 2 in Coral Gables? 73 minutes or more. What's tier 2 in East Little Havana? 181 minutes or more. It varies based upon the needs of the school. And by the way, tier 3, the most intensive, is based purely upon what resources the building has. If a building has more resources, they're going to be able to deliver more intensive instruction than a building with less resources. Does that make sense? And by the way, this is all about common sense. Don't check your common sense at the door. If it doesn't feel right to you, then question why you do it. That's not right. I need to understand that more. Don't give up your professional well-being and expertise just because of something that makes no sense. So the bottom line is this. These are big ideas about MTSS. Find kids early. Early warning systems are the best thing to have come down the pipe. We can predict on track for graduation and post-secondary outcomes with 83% accuracy in 6th grade. It drops to about 50 or 60% accuracy in 3rd grade and gets better every year. So why would a high school, for example, want to have screening tools for 9th graders unless they dropped into the district? You have 9 years of data. You should have known what in 9th grade what's going to be coming 2 years ahead of time because of early warning systems in 6th. These early warning systems are amazing. Some of our data that we use for benchmarking can predict with 95% accuracy in October whether a kid's going to meet standards in May. We have something called probability of reading success, PRS. So This teacher here has the rest of the students. Give in our case, it's a statewide reading system. And which person?
Lisa.
Lisa, which person?
Yeah.
And Lisa comes back with a PRS of 92. Sorry, Ann.
It's okay.
And she, I'm right-handed, she has to better right. So Ann comes back with a 49. What's your first name?
Jen.
Jen. My oldest daughter's name, I remember that. Jen will never look at these two students the same again. She looks at you and she's like, ah! How am I going to move that? Because you can predict with 5% accuracy, one way or the other, what she's going to be doing in May, but you now have 7 months to do something about it. If you find that out in April, you're toast. So the comment that you made before, early warning data are important. If you want to know more about that, the best place to go for a quick tutorial is betterhighschools, one word, .org. They actually have the software for early warning systems, or you can just Google early warning systems. The person who probably knows more about that than anybody else in the nation from a research perspective, his name is Bob Balfanz, B-A-L-F-A-N-Z, and you can Google him. Act quickly and aggressively, never wait. Never wait. So I don't know, let's go another 3 weeks. Don't, unless you're sure that going another 3 weeks is the right answer. The worst case is if you act now and didn't need to, the kid's protected. If you wait and it was a problem, the kid loses. Yes, ma'am?
Could you repeat that again?
Which one?
The last name?
Yeah, sure. B is in boy, A-L. F is in Frank, A-N-Z is in zebra. Bob, Robert, I guess.
And it's called Early Warning?
Early warning systems. No, Better High Schools. .org. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for asking that question. Better High Schools, one word, .org. Or just Google Balfanz. Monitor progress. So here's a general rule. You can do progress monitoring as frequently as you want, as long as it's not more frequently than it would be expected for a kid to get the skill. So, John, what kind of building are you principal in?
Pre-K through 5.
Pre-K through 5. So it's fine to progress monitor initial sounds and stuff for kindergarten on a weekly basis if you want, because the development of sounds, the curriculum is one new sound per week for the first 26 weeks. That's how the assessments are based. Why would you do twice a week when it's not expected that the kid would normally get a new sound? So now take that to chemistry or algebra. Some units are 4 weeks long, some are a week. Why would you progress monitor more frequently than it's expected the kid would get the skill? So that you can progress monitor, but what's the relationship between progress monitoring and decision making? We have a guideline that we don't make decisions about changing instruction, except for very young kids, any more frequently than once every 20 days. Progress monitoring data are simply not accurate enough for us to be chasing pathology week in and week out. Because a lot of them may have to do with the assessment. The kid doing the assessment, we don't jump to making instructional decisions. We have to have a real good reason to do it more than once every 20 days. Modify as necessary again, and don't wait, and be honest and transparent. Say this isn't working, this is working. So we're going to keep using these principles as we go through. These are the critical components of MTSS, but we're only going to talk about a few of them today. If you implement a system, it involves leadership. What is a building principal and district administrator, PLCs, department heads? What is their role in this? Multi-tiered system of instruction, you know what that is, we'll get into it. Problem solving, how do we use data, but how do we communicate and collaborate? The question back here was, how do you move kids across levels? How do you communicate across schools? And how do we build the capacity to do this? We'll talk a little bit about that. So what does it look like? All instructional services support are delivered through this system. Decisions regarding instruction support are made using data. We integrate academics and behavior, and a district-based team is responsible for monitoring the schools to determine the overall health of a district. I'm going to show you some data. I'm going to ask you, is this a healthy district in 3rd grade for literacy? Is this a healthy school? There's a school-based team that's responsible for the health and wellness of the school. We review data 3 times a year. Health means this: if you look at your data in January and there are more kids doing better in January than October, it's a healthy school. If there are fewer kids doing better in January than October, it's an unhealthy school. Because if you go there, you get worse. So we have to monitor whether kids get better in our school. Parents are engaged, student engagement we'll talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about how to plan in this model, and the focus is on Tier 1 throughout the day. District leaders are accountable for school performance, and principals are accountable for individual school performance. When I was a building principal, my professional evaluation had a number of items on it. One of those items was student growth, student data. And I knew that. So a chief academic officer or a superintendent is going to have analytics. What do the things look like? They're up here for the schools, the principal is for individual schools. This process can be applied at any level. So it doesn't matter where you sit. So look at this. Look at this graphic. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and if you were asked to put words to that, what would you put? Go. This is actually a graphic from a district that implemented this. This is in every building, but there are words on it. I'll give you 2 minutes. Go.